Oh,
Oh,
do
okay.
we just talk?
I guess so.
I guess
Yeah.
so. Well, the first question that I have, Chris, is, am I a great friend or am I the greatest friend that you've ever had?
Possibly.
I'm gonna put you down for great friend.
I'm gonna go with possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah, I was a journalism major. The truth is always supreme. I've kind of been on my own journey as far as this whole subject of racial reconciliation goes, and making our voices heard. You've seen, and a lot of folks who know me have seen that I was pretty active this summer, especially on Facebook, sharing a lot of thoughts that have taken now 31 years to process, and it was a very freeing kind of thing. For me to be able to experience, and then to see the support that was there afterwards, and the thoughts that I've kind of shared, and I plan on continuing to share, was wonderfully overwhelming, and it was something that really needed to be done.
So we have been friends for 4 years now.
Right.
And we're still learning things about each other.
We are.
You and me have challenged each other. You and me have pushed each other.
Yes.
A lot, particularly over this past year. Ironically, through text. I think this is one of the first times we've
Yes.
had like an actual conversation on this in person, which is really weird.
It is.
Compared to how we've had all of our others.
Right,
But
right.
we have, we've pushed back on each other, and we have challenged each other and thought, well, have you ever considered it from this angle? And that's been really helpful. And is that, I don't know, I think about that in terms of, we live in a day and age of things like cancel culture. And that, I think cancel culture has really taken off really heavily in issues of race and racial reconciliation. What are the pros and cons of it? What are the pros and cons of cancel culture?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily malicious. I actually think it's trying to listen to and defend those who don't have voice. But as you said, the cons are obviously that nuance is lost, and what's also lost is the ability to truly seek and change, and seek redemption.
Right.
And that's part of our story, right? As
Right.
Christians, it's not part of our story. It is our story.
Right.
I mean, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Reverend, but.
I don't know where you're going to go with this.
But we all fall short, right? But
Yes.
Christ died so that we could be redeemed.
Yes.
Right, and so, but we don't, when you, in cancel culture, you don't get that chance. There is another, example that I'm thinking of, a NASCAR, race car driver, Kyle Larson, who, during a virtual iRacing video game, Mr. Larson made a big mistake. While they were racing, he was trying to contact another racer and used the N-word,
Which is bad.
Yes, that's just not a word that you publicly want to be kind of throwing around. And he was immediately alerted that they said, "Hey, Kyle, man, you're on, Mr. Larson, you're on.
Your mic is live.
Your mic is live."
Yeah.
And he ended up losing his sponsors and losing his ride in
Like that.
real life
Like
NASCAR.
that.
Like
Yeah.
that, yes. I think the redemption hopefully is kind of going to come next season, and that he actually took the time to reflect on his mistake and why he made that mistake. And in fact, he went and has had a friendship and a back and forth exchanges with another NASCAR driver, Bubba Wallace, who is currently the only black driver in that top level. I actually personally am not opposed to the consequences of Kyle Larson's words, but I would be opposed to the lack of ability to kind of redeem himself.
Sure.
Sometimes we need to step away from the things that we get to do, that we love to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually appropriate.
Because sometimes there are consequences for
Yes.
our words. There's consequences for our actions.
Right.
And we have to just accept that that's a reality. Right. I don't know. My mind went to Peter. So there's two stories. in the Passion narrative. You have the story of Peter, you have the story of Judas. All right? Two people who wronged Jesus. Now, arguably, we can all get on board one wronged Jesus a little bit worse
Just a little
than
bit.
the other, just a little bit. But both wrong Jesus. So you have Judas who like straight up betrays Jesus, turns him over to the authorities. Then you have Peter who denies any association with Jesus because he doesn't want to experience any repercussions himself either. Now, at the end of the story, there's really two different paths. There is Judas who ends up hanging himself. And never experiences any level of forgiveness from either Jesus or really any of the other followers. And then you have Peter, who does get to experience Jesus's forgiveness. So then the question is, can anybody truly be cut off from Jesus's healing and forgiving and redemptive story? Could Judas have experienced that same redemptive narrative himself had he not hanged himself?
I would hope that the answer is yes.
Yeah. I would hope so. It's it'd be a terrible Bible story if he didn't.
Right.
But
we've had sermons and messages
Yeah.
before regarding the idea that sometimes you got to forgive somebody knowing that an apology or a redemptive seeking of redemptive behavior is just not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's not saying that we don't believe that can happen, but regardless of
Yeah.
whether that happens or not, yes.
I think about the idea, we talk a lot about God's prevenient grace, about the fact that God's grace comes before any actions that we did. God is, moving and working in our lives before we ever do or recognize it for ourselves. I don't think we ever really talk about the fact that we ought to be offering a prevenient grace to others as well. Like, how are we going out and offering that grace and that love to others before they even see it, for their own well-being? And like, what kind of friendships and relationships would that build if we were willing to do that?
Right, and that's so much easier said than done.
Oh my gosh, so much
obviously.
easier said than done, right?
Obviously, yes. But I think as humans, we just try.
Yeah, we just try.
We try.
If we do that, like good things really do happen. Like really, some of the best conversations I've ever had in my life have happened over the past 6 to 9 months or so, where you and me, generally speaking, we just send each other jokes and make fun of each other and talk about sports. Like that's basically the gist of probably 90% of our text chain back and forth with each other. And then 10% is some of the most deep, caring, loving, insightful, challenging conversations that I've ever had in my life. And again, they're happening through a text chain, but I don't think that changes anything. And that's incredible. And if I'm willing to go out and do that with you, it's comfortable for me to talk about this with you. I've never been scared to talk about this with you. I feel like I'm allowed to. I think that's the big thing. The hard thing for me is, do I feel like I'm allowed to go talk to other people in that same way? And then do I believe that God has given me permission to go have difficult conversations with others? And I think if I can buy into that, I don't know, I think my life can go in a great, awesome way.
Exactly. We can then challenge and encourage others that hurt others in underprivileged groups. We can challenge them to have that same empathy and love.
I love getting to talk with you. My hope is that you guys are going to get to have really great conversations in your group like this as well. Dive into all of these different kind of nuanced conversations. Dive into the relationships that we have with one another, and how do we challenge each other, and how do we grow with one another in the spirit of God, in the spirit of friendship, and in the spirit of togetherness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an honor to be your friend and to grow with you. And one day, I'm confident that the Carolina Panthers will win a Super Bowl.
Why do you have to end on that?
Because we're friends.
The 49ers have lost a Super Bowl since the Panthers have, so we're just going to end on that.
5 championships.
I'm done.